There's Danny Flexen here for Seconds Out. Delighted to be joined once again by my good friend Sam Jones. Sam, how's things going? Father of two. I'm sure there's not many quiet moments.
No, mate. There's never any quiet moments, and you'll probably hear him bursting here at some point. But no, all good, mate. Everything's all good. Not spoke to you since before the new year, so happy New Year, and also apologies for being late to this interview.
It's all right, mate. It's all right. You already said it off camera. I didn't need the formal apology, but I appreciate it nonetheless. You look like you've done some weight as well, so I'm not trying to flatter you ahead of the interview, but you look like you're a bit slimmer in the face.
I think it's just all about angles, to be honest, Danny. But I like what I say to everybody. I train really hard, genuinely. I graft hard in the gym. The 2 hours this morning in the gym, 2 hours on Saturday. I train really hard. But do you know, my problem is imbalanced eating. Like, not eating crap, just strange times and stuff like that. If I get my diet right, I'll look like Hercules. So that's the plan this
What,
year.
the
But
old
no, I train
WWF
very.
wrestler?
Yeah, exactly. But no,
You
no,
got the beard.
yeah, yeah, I'm training really hard, Danny. I do train very, very hard. I graft hard in the gym. So, but when you get a bit older, you do need to train that little bit harder.
I'm aware. I don't, but I'm aware. Talking of needed people who train very hard, what a segue that was. Jack Catterall. It seems from what we're hearing from Eddie Hearn and other people involved, we are edging closer to that rematch with Josh Taylor. What can you tell us?
Um, Jack Catterall has agreed his side of a deal to fight Josh Taylor. It's looking like it could be somewhere neutral, a neutral venue. Um, so there'll be no complaints. There can't be any complaints from either side. Like it should be here. Should be, even though Jack Catterall in this is the A side. That, in my opinion, it's Catterall versus Taylor. But even if it wasn't, Danny, Jack wouldn't care. If it doesn't really matter as long as the ring there and three fair judges. Um, yeah, it is what it is. Look, I've said many times before, Danny, and I said it in numerous interviews because I get asked a lot about this. Josh Taylor will watch this and go, "Oh, he's talking about me again." I don't ever slag Josh Taylor off. I just say factual things because I genuinely respect him as a fighter. Don't respect how he dealt with the the loss win, whatever we want to call it, against Jack. I don't agree with how he went about that. But no one can deny Josh's accolades in boxing. Do you understand what I mean? Like, he's an all-time great. He's a future Hall of Fame. He's a former undisputed champion. So he has to be given respect on that front. No one can ever take that away. But Jack Catterall is known, this is just an unfortunate fact, is known as the guy that got robbed. He is, right? He is. He's just that guy. And Josh Taylor, for all he's won in boxing, people just go, "You robbed Jack Catterall." Tell me I'm lying. If someone wants to tell me I'm lying, then great. But I'm just telling you what the public perception is. And that's wrong. From both sides, that's wrong. Jack's career shouldn't be judged on the fact he got robbed. And Josh's career, with all he's won, all he's achieved in boxing, because let's be honest, he's won every carat there is to win in boxing, in good fashion as well. He's known as the guy that robbed Jack. So it's just the fight needs putting to bed.
So where are we on Josh Taylor's side?
Everything's agreed on Jackson. Josh just needs to agree to the fight, and it's on.
And how long have you been waiting from your side since Jack's agreed his side?
We agreed our side 2 weeks ago.
Right.
So let's
Bit,
see what happens.
bit nervous. I mean, 2 weeks quite a long
No,
time if it's
no, Danny. Do you know why I'm not nervous? Because if he doesn't want to fight Jack, no problem. But you can't blame money anymore because I know what's being talked about. So it's not a money problem. It's not a venue problem. It's not anything problem. It's just you don't want to fight Jack Catterall, which is fair enough. But if that is the case and he doesn't end up fighting Jack, I'm telling you, cross my heart, the only reason why is because he didn't want the fight. Simple as that. But if you're going off Josh's previous record into who he fights and what he's achieved, you would imagine the fight's going to happen because Josh has there's ego there, there's pride there, and he's an amazing fighter. So why would he be scared to fight Jack Catterall?
and would it be at 140 pounds again?
Possibly, or possibly a catchweight.
Yeah. Because I would imagine Josh isn't convinced that he can make 140 and be effective to the
The
degree that
thing is,
he's.
Danny. The thing is, though, Danny, that's nonsense, really. Because in the last two fights, he said he made the weight against Jack. Well, he said he made the weight amazing against Lopez. So it's not really a weight thing. But we don't want any excuses in this fight, Danny. We don't want any excuses, and we want it to be a fair a level playing field. So it's none of these terms are going to be a problem on our side. Trust me. It's just that Jack doesn't like Josh Taylor at all. And I know Josh doesn't like Jack. So it's just the fight to make. It's the only fight to make for both of them. I don't want to speak on Josh's behalf, but Josh Taylor don't want to be fighting Steve Claggett for it's because it would just be embarrassing.
But then
It's just
on the flip side of that, it is the only fight, as you say, for both of them. What if it doesn't come off for your man? Where does Jack go then?
Jack's been ordered to fight a final eliminator. There's other names in there. The zone of Golden Boy have just acquired Jose Ramirez. There's Arnold Barboza that's on that. There's loads of good fights for Jack out there. He's highly ranked in all the governing bodies. There's some great fights there to be made to me. But this fight is not just about. This fight isn't about belts, Danny. It's about pride and redemption, and the score needs settling in boxing. Sometimes scores need settling, and I think the scores need settling from both sides. Josh thinks Jack fluked it, and Jack wants to right a wrong.
Is it frustrating that the 140-pound division, there's quite a lot going on at the moment? We saw OD come up short at the weekend. You've got Haney beat Prograis. You've got Ryan now
Devin
probably
Haney's
fighting
going to have to
Romero.
fight. Devin Haney's going to have to fight Sandor Martin. So I doubt he's going to do that fight because there's no money in it. And that won't do any numbers. So Devin Haney everyone said Devin Haney's this big star. Devin Haney's a wonderful fighter, fantastic fighter. But I believe Jack Catterall would have beaten Regis Prograis given the opportunity. Say whatever you like. I believe Jack Catterall would have done the same thing to Regis Prograis. So Devin Haney's been given that good fight, but it looks like the Ryan Garcia is going to go a different route and fight Rolando Romero. So who's there for Devin Haney to fight? Teofimo Lopez is busy and he wants 50 million to do that fight. So it looks Devin Haney probably going to move up. So then there's an opportunity there for Jack. There's so many routes that Jack can go, but I'm just talking about common sense. This fight needs to happen. Everybody wants to see it, so the fight needs to happen, Danny. And look, but if it doesn't, no problem, no issue. It is what it is. But I think Josh knows deep down he has to fight him, and Jack wants to fight him. So listen, I'm sure common sense will prevail, and hopefully we'll have some news on Jack's next contest very, very shortly.
We'll look forward to that. But in the meantime, there have been some fights announced recently that have caught the public interest. None more so than Anthony Joshua's next move. Announced very soon after his last fight. Impressive win over Otto Wallin, of course. He's going to be taking on Francis Ngannou. And it's a really interesting one. We're going to be discussing it in depth on our live show in a couple of hours. And it's kind of how much of a risk is this? Because the rewards are clearly very, very high for both men.
Look, Anthony Joshua's the fight against Ngannou. See, people play old interviews of Eddie saying that this and that, Ngannou this and that. But ultimately, the fight is more sexy now because of what happened in Ngannou's last fight with Tyson Fury. Yeah. It was a fight that wasn't meant to be close, that was close. I personally think Tyson Fury had an off day in that fight. I just do. I don't want to discredit Ngannou because he fought his bollocks out. So it was a great performance from Ngannou, and he deserves this. He deserves this chance against Anthony Joshua. So it's two big muscly lumps having a fight, but I just think Anthony Joshua will chin him within 6.
And is there any chance, because we know that AJ has been down before, he's been hurt before, he's been stopped before.
Yeah.
And Ngannou's coming off dropping Tyson Fury. I mean, I know you said you feel maybe he could have prepared better. I think a lot of people would agree with that. But is there
Yeah.
a chance that Ngannou could be a banana skin for Joshua on his route back to world titles?
No.
Okay. Not at
No.
all.
No. And that's, again, I don't want to come across that, but I just think that Ngannou had the best day of his life and Tyson Fury had the worst day of his life, genuinely. And I think Anthony Joshua will, in this fight, show the difference between a mixed martial artist against an elite level heavyweight boxer.
Did you see enough in AJ's win over Valin to convince you that his bad days are behind him?
I don't think, listen, I think it was, it, those performances against Usyk were strange game plans from both of them. The second one was better, but there were weird game plans. That's just me being honest. There were strange game plans. And then Jermaine Franklin, he was trying to. AJ's an aggressive fighter that throws big power shots. That's AJ's style, and we saw it against Otto Wallin. Ben Davison hasn't changed Anthony Joshua. He's just refined him and brought him back to where he was, when he was at his devastating best. And that's what, again, Ben needs a lot of credit for, and Anthony Joshua as well, because there was a lot of pressure going on Anthony going into that fight, and people were saying that, oh, he's finished, he's not himself, and especially if he loses against Wallin, he's done. And Wallin's a great fighter. Wallin's beat Murat Gassiev in Russia, which is a great win, and he could have beaten Tyson Fury. He's this great fight, but Anthony Joshua just bashed him up, completely bashed him up. And then after the fight, you've seen some articles saying, oh, that's what he should have done. Nah, bollocks. He performed brilliantly, and he deserves a lot of credit. Him, Ben, and yeah, his whole team for taking that fight against a very informed Otto Wallin. So on that form, Anthony Joshua could beat anyone.
Valin Gassiev, I should say, before the trolls came both of us, was in Turkey, not Russia. Although it
Sorry,
was still
apologies.
kind of relative away ground.
Yeah.
I want to ask you this then. You've said before you expected the relationship with Ben Davison to go well beyond the fight with Valin. It
I
seems
got in
like that's going to
trouble.
happen.
I got slagged off, didn't I, when I said Ben Davison will be a better. I'm not saying he's a better coach than Derek James, but I'm saying for AJ, I believe he's a better coach for AJ. And I got a load of stick, and it's looking as though I told you so.
Well, there
I
will
hate
be.
saying it's true.
Yeah, I bet you do. Yeah. But there will be people that still say Ben hasn't proved that relationship with AJ until he fights someone who's not a Valin, who didn't do much, or an Ngannou who's a UFC fighter.
I agree, but no disrespect to someone like Jermaine Franklin, but what was Jermaine Franklin? I think Jermaine Franklin is a competent heavyweight, but I don't think he's world class.
No, but you look at, I don't know, think of some examples like Rob McCracken obviously took AJ to those wins over Charles Martin, who wasn't great in hindsight, but Vladimir Klitschko.
Hey, but that victory aged a lot better though. Charles Martin's been in some good fights, and
yeah,
Charles Martin's not a terrible heavyweight. He's not a terrible heavyweight. I just think that Ben is what AJ needs at this stage in his career. And look, great performance last time out. I expect him to do the business against Ngannou, and I expect him to go on and become world heavyweight champion again, no matter who that's against.
Now, Fury Ngannou seems to have failed to convince a lot of people that Ngannou's going to trouble another top heavyweight like AJ, but does seem to have convinced a lot of the audience, boxing fans, that Fury's got a real difficult fight now against Usyk. And a lot of people making Usyk the favourite now. Why is that? Why is Fury getting the brunt of the fallout from the Ngannou fight, and Ngannou's not getting the praise or the enhancement?
Because I think people saw that Tyson Fury would have looked at that fight. I'm not speaking on his behalf because you don't know what goes on. I have nothing to do with Tyson Fury's training camps and whatnot, but Tyson's probably looked at that fight and thought, I could go to the pub and sink 10 pints and be able to beat Francis Ngannou, because he should be able to because of Tyson's natural ability. But I just think Tyson didn't wasn't there. I don't want to say he just wasn't there for that fight. He's like everything. I just think he just thought I can go there, go through the motions, and I can beat this guy. And I think it just proved you can't underprepare really for anybody. I think Tyson Fury beats Usyk because I think Tyson knows that there's a lot of pressure on him. There's a lot of not his legacy's not on the line because he's already achieved so much. His comeback story is probably one of the greatest sporting comebacks of all time. He needs to be respected for that. But I just think he knows that because Wilder, look at the Wilder win. That's not aged really very well, has it? With the Joe Parker, what happened with Joe Parker? So I think he'll be thinking about a lot. And Tyson's a thinker, so he'll be thinking that I need to do a job on this guy, and I think he will. I think he'll beat Usyk.
Has the performance against Ngannou changed your mind at all then about the Usyk fight? Not who's going to win because you're still tipping
No,
Fury.
no, because I said to you, I'm sure my interview with you is it's either he's on the decline and he's declining very quickly. He had the worst night of his life and didn't prepare, and it's one of those two things. Because I genuinely believe that a Tyson Fury, an informed Tyson Fury, does an absolute job on Ngannou.
And do you think in some ways it's a no-win situation for Fury? Because if he beats Usyk, people say, well, he was always just a cruiserweight. He always had the style to beat him, so you're expected to win.
The thing is, Danny, that's boxing in general, mate, isn't it? That's boxing in general. If you beat somebody, there's always a reason.
But like the first Wilder fight, he had it all to gain reputation-wise, didn't he? Because no one expected much. He'd been away for a long time. Wilder was unbeaten, murderous puncher. Whereas this time it seems the other way round. If he loses, he was never that good anyway. He's in decline. If he wins, well, look how much bigger he is, you know.
I think Tyson will just be fully focused on the job in hand. I think he'll just know, I have to beat this guy. I've got to beat him well. And I genuinely think he will. I think he'll beat Usyk.
Okay, we shall see. And just one more on the heavyweights before I let you go. You were obviously long time associated with Joe Joyce. I'm sure you're still very good friends with him. There's been a bit of a backlash or a mini backlash from fans that he hasn't been as yet included on any of these big Saudi shows or talked about to oppose some of these top heavyweights coming through in Riyadh. What do you make of that? And what do you think would be like an ideal first fight back for him?
Do you know what, Danny? You know me, right? Subjects and stuff. I will ask any question you want to ask me about anything. But Joe, when it comes to Joe now, because listen, I speak to Joe a lot, but like it's like more texting. I speak to him regularly, but I don't know what's gone on like in his previous camps and stuff. And like I know, listen, he's had 2 very bad losses to Zhang. He's 39 this year. All I want for Joe is him to be healthy and happy. That's genuinely all I care about when it comes to Joe. If Joe wants to box, I just hope that it's a good route for him. Do you understand what I mean? It's a good route for him. So I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure Adam and Joe will think about it carefully and see what the next step is for him. But yeah, do I think Joe should be included on those Saudi cards? Yes, because I think he beat Dubois in a big fight, big money fight against Miller. Joe beat Dubois. Parker just had the biggest win of his career. Joe beat Parker. So 100% Joe should be considered for those. But I don't think it was Frank Warren purposely not getting Joe out. I don't think Joe was physically ready to get into that yet because I think Joe's had a lot of time off. I know he was in Australia. So I think it was more to do with the fact Joe wasn't physically ready to be on those shows, but I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will be on those cards in future.
Good to hear. Sam, really appreciate it, mate. I'll let you get back to the exciting life of being a father of 2 while being a boxing manager at the same time.
Nice one, Dan.
Yeah, brilliant, mate. And let's catch up again soon.